Hey guys, so we've seen the Oregon standoff thing come to an end, siege standoff thing come to an end, ended as you'd expect it to end. I made a comment either on a video or just in a comment section when it began, you know, let's watch how it ends. We know how it's going to end, and it's sort of interesting because whenever you hear gun nut arguments, usually they have these imaginary endings to them, you know, so that, you know, come take my gun out of my cold dead hand, you know, you're not taking my guns, come and try and take my guns, and all that sort of stuff. And obviously they have some fantasy that the law is going to come to try and take their guns, you know, the cops are going to come and try and take their guns, and they're not going to be able to. Obviously that's the fantasy, that's obviously what that means, right? You're not going to take my guns. How do they think that's going to end? And it's, again, it comes back to logic and reason and common sense again, doesn't it? That look at how any siege ever has ended, and there's only a limited number of ways it ends. It either ends with the gun nut going hands up and comes out going, oh sorry, you know, don't tase me, bro, you know, hands up and don't shoot me. And surrenders and is taken into custody, or shot. And just look back at the sieges over the years, you know, usually it ends with the guy putting his hands up or shooting himself. That's a common end to it. There's been some other catastrophes as well, like Waco and some others like that, where everybody died. Lots of people died, but that's how it ends, you know. The gun nut winning. The gun nut winning and getting to keep his guns has never been how it ends, has it? You know, there's never been a siege where it's ended like that. You know, which is incredible when you see the gun nuts saying the things that they say. It's like, where are you getting this shit from? You know, based on everything that's ever happened in the world and that's ever going to happen in the world, where does this fantasy come from? That, you know, I'm going to keep my guns, and if the laws change that I can't have my guns, I'll keep them anyway, and you won't take them from me. Well, where are you getting that from? It's always going to end the same way. You're going to shoot yourself, they're going to shoot you, or you're going to surrender. That's usually the three options. And we saw the same thing in Oregon, didn't we? That was funny. That was really funny. Bunch of nuts there going, oh, you know, we're going to fight the establishment. And then a bunch of others flocked in, didn't they? A bunch of others flocked in. Oh, we want to be a part of this. And then there was all that funny stuff went on there where they're going, oh no, you can't be a part of this, we don't like you, and oh no. And a few of them went home because no one there liked them, and a few others stayed and then got bored and left. And this is the reality. So when you've got the siege thing going on, that's the other option that sometimes happens, is before it gets too out of hand, some people just give up and go home, don't they? And that's what happened too. Some people go, oh, well, I'm sort of bored, I want to go home and play Nintendo. You know, go home and play some shoot 'em up games on Nintendo. I'm going to go home now, see ya. And they went home. So a bunch of them forgot their snacks, didn't they? They had no snacks, so they had to go home and get some snacks. One dude went out and tried to run a police roadblock, didn't he? And then when he was told to put his hands up, he didn't put his hands up. Well, he did it first, didn't he? And then he put his hand in somewhere, with a bunch of cops pointing guns at him. That was a pretty silly thing to do, whether he was reaching for a gun or not, you know, a bunch of nervous cops. The cops, you know, you imagine how nervous, just imagine for a sec they are good cops, okay, we'll just give them the benefit of the doubt. They're good cops, and they're told that one of the gun nuts has got out. They're going to assume that he's a gun nut, and he's going to assume he's one of these take my gun from my cold dead hand gun nuts, aren't they? Imagine how jumpy they're going to be. Put yourself in the cop situation for a minute. How nervous are you going to be coming up against this gun nut, you know, that's one of these guys that's going to fight the cops. I'm going to kill cops and die shooting. Gun nut, and all of a sudden he puts his hand down here. Put your hands up, put your hands up, put your hands up. He puts his hand down here. Bang, bang. That's how that one ended, you know. He didn't do the hands up thing, he did the hands down thing, and he died. Well, you know, so it's only going to be one of them, isn't it, you know? So it's the same thing. Any of these gun nut fantasies that they have, it's the same as the fighting the tyrannical government thing. It's going to end the same way. You get a bunch of them in a log cabin in the mountains somewhere with their shotguns and their whiskey and their snacks. You know, it's going to end the same way. The cops, you know, in this case, because there was no hostages and because it was sort of in an isolated area, the cops just hung back, didn't they? You know, if there was hostages involved, or if it was in a built-up area where it was putting other people in danger, the cops would have had to go in sooner, and probably more people would have died, probably, because the gun nuts would have panicked, oh shit, and started shooting, and everybody would have been shooting, and then the gun nuts would have died, and probably a couple of cops would have been hurt too. But because it was out in the middle of nowhere and there was no hostages, the cops did what you'd expect them to do. They just went, oh well, we'll just sort of hang back a while and see what happens. And sure enough, you know, a few went home to get snacks, and a few went home to play Nintendo, and you know, a few put their hands up, came out and surrendered, and you know, slowly they were just left with one, weren't they? You know, wasn't he a funny character too, ranting and raving about UFOs and conspiracies? He was a classic gun nut, that guy. And then what did he do? Put his hands up and came on out. And that's what's going to happen. All these gun nuts that talk about, you know, whenever I leave a comment saying about, you know, the guns are going to go, eventually, you know, who knows how long it's going to take. It might take 10 years, it might take 100, but sooner or later, the US is going to decide that having an armed population is not a good idea. It's not working. 30,000 deaths a year, it's not working. And sooner or later they're going to realise that, and enough citizens are going to vote for new gun laws, and they'll collect all the guns. And so what's going to happen is exactly the same thing when they collect the guns, the same thing. And the same thing happened in Australia. They say they change the laws and they say we're going to do a gun buyback, and so if you've got a gun and you don't have a new license for it to have it, then you're going to need to hand it in and we'll give you money for it. And 99.9% of the population, and gun nuts say all the time, you know, oh, gun owners are good legal citizens, good law-abiding citizens. Well, okay, yep, so 99.9% of the people who have guns are good law-abiding citizens, and when the law changes, those people will take their guns to the gun buyback centre, and they'll walk in, and if the US is smart, they'll do a no questions asked gun buyback like Australia did, where it doesn't matter where you got the gun from, doesn't matter whether you're licensed to have it or not, you can walk in, put it on the counter, they look at it, they type into the computer what type of gun it is, they give you a fair market price for it, give you the money, and you walk back out the door again. Whether you got the gun legally or not doesn't matter, and no questions asked, no penalty, and you walk away with the cash, right? And 99.9% of people will do that. You know, it's true, most gun owners are law-abiding people, so when the law changes and owning the gun is no longer legal, they'll hand them in. And then you'll get a small percentage who'll say, you're not taking my guns, you're not taking my guns. And now, whether this is law-abiding people or criminals, well, if they're law-abiding people and they have a gun illegally, they've stopped being law-abiding people, but either way, the cops will just take them. And again, they'll have a choice. They'll have a choice of putting up their hands and say, okay, here's the gun, my mistake, there it is, you know, which will be the smart ones, or they can shoot themselves, which is always the other option, or the cops will come in and shoot them. They're the three options. There's only those three options, and look at all these sieges that have happened, and it always ends one of those three ways, doesn't it? There's not usually another option. So these fantasies about, I'll be keeping my guns, no you won't. No, you won't. You've got the three options. Take your pick. Put your hands up, shoot yourself, or be shot by the cops. And that's the way it'll work. And, you know, oh, they can't disarm the whole population. Yeah, they can. They can. It will take time. The first step is to stop handing out guns. You can't get all the guns back from the bad guys while you're still handing out guns. So the first step's going to be stop handing them out and then start collecting them. Of course they'll collect them. And the penalties will go up for having a gun illegally. And so, you know, when they catch a bad guy with a gun, he'll go away for a long time, and there'll be less and less guns, you know. The other one, sort of a bit off the topic a little bit, but the other argument that I keep hearing is these fuckheads saying that bad guys will always get guns and they're not legal guns that they've got. Where do these fools think the criminals get their guns from? You know, the majority of the guns have come from legal gun owners. Either they've been stolen from legal gun owners, either they've stolen them out of their car, or they've stolen them out of their house, or, you know, they've stolen them from somewhere, or they've been bought on the black market or somewhere. You know, Smith & Wesson don't sell guns to criminals. You know, Ruger don't sell guns to criminals. They sell the guns to legal people, and then through crime or through whatever means, the guns end up in the hands of the criminals, you know? And that argument about, oh, you know, legal people, the problem is if you keep handing out guns to the legal people, that's how they get in the hands of the criminals. So to stop them getting to the criminals in the first place, you stop handing them to anyone. Stop handing out the guns and then start collecting them. You collect them from the legal people and you collect them from the illegal people. You know, that whole fucking argument about only the criminals will have guns, bullshit. The cops will have guns. That's the idea. That's the way most societies, you know, America population is less than 5% of the world's population. The rest of the world seem to realise that the smartest thing to do is you have cops with guns, and yes, cops do have guns. It's not a government conspiracy. It's because the cops' job is they're the ones who are called. If there's some lunatic with a knife or a machete or a gun, it's the cops that are called to go and take it off them. So yes, the cops have guns. It's not a conspiracy. It's just logic. Again, logic and common sense. You can't be sending cops to take weapons off people if they're not armed, right? It's logic and common sense. It's not a conspiracy. No, it's not. It's just logic and common sense. And then you keep taking the guns, and you take the guns, then there's less guns. You know, this whole gun nut argument about how, oh, if the legal people don't have guns, only the criminals will have guns, then there'll be more crime. No, that's not what works. Look at the rest of the world. You know, this is the thing these guys don't seem to think about is, if it was true, you know, it's not a government conspiracy. If it was true that having everybody carrying around guns made a better society, well, we'd do that, wouldn't we? Everybody would do that. Japan would be going, oh yeah, we need to get rid of our crime. Let's hand out guns to everybody. You know, it's just the reason that other countries don't do it is it's not true. You know, Switzerland, there's always one gun nut jumps up. Switzerland, these guys have got their education from YouTube and Google searches. Yes, Switzerland, yes, they have long arms locked in cabinets in their cupboards, and they go and have to do mandatory training with them, yes. But they're not toting them around to the supermarket and in their cars. No. It's just so irrational. I've come so close to giving up on this topic a few times because the number of stupid people out there, stupid, paranoid people who don't have the ability to think, you know, is just amazing. And it does become tiring sometimes. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, here's that argument again. Here's that bullshit again. You know, one guy the other day suggesting that the CIA was paying me to make anti-gun videos. Yes, the CIA come and give me envelopes of cash. They come to Japan and they deliver envelopes of cash to my door so that I'll make some videos for YouTube. You paranoid fucking lunatic. For fuck's sake. You know, just use common sense. You know, that's the thing that's lacking with all those arguments and all that bullshit, is the common sense, the lack of common sense, and the lack of observation skills. Just look at the reality. You don't have to believe the government's stories that it's a conspiracy. You don't have to believe anything anyone tells you. Just look at what's happening. Just look at how sieges end. How do they end? They always end the same way. One of the three options. The guy puts his hands up and surrenders, he shoots himself, or the cops shoot him. That's the way it ends. And all the gun nut bloody fantasies about all this shit, you can't take my guns, and I'm going to fight the tyrannical government, and you know, nobody's going to be able to invade America because we've got guns. Well, no, it's not going to stop people with drones and nuclear warheads. You know, just because Billy Bob's got a shotgun is not going to stop that happening, you know. Yeah. Oh. So we know what's going to happen. What is going to happen is eventually, I mean, hopefully it's soon. The reason I haven't given up on this topic is I think it's really, really sad that so many innocent people are dying unnecessarily every year just so that Billy Bob and his friends can have guns. You know, it's just so ridiculous. In 2016, you know, it's just 21st century. It's just ridiculous. And all based on bullshit, you know? All based on bullshit for no benefit at all except bullshit fantasy stuff, you know? It's my rights, it's my liberty. Fucking fuck off, you know? If that was true, you'd all be allowed to have grenades and nuclear weapons, right? You know, there's no logic to that reasoning. It just doesn't make any sense at all. You know, it's just tragic to see people dying unnecessarily just because of this bullshit, you know? That's why I don't give up on it. And what will happen eventually is, slowly more and more Americans will be realizing this, and then because it's a democratic country, they will change the laws, you know. And this whole fucking our founding fathers gave us the right, yeah, well, yeah, but you know, surely you've evolved something since then, you know. Were they the last intelligent Americans? It's amazing. Fucking hell, look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump's in one of the contenders for president. You're fucking kidding. You know, in all those 300 years, you've gone from these people that are treated like gods, you know, the founding fathers. Has there been no intelligent Americans since then that have come up with any new ideas? You know, the founding fathers said we can have guns. Yeah, but it's 300 years later. It's the 21st century, you know. And when enough Americans realise that and say, no, okay, look, we need to do something about this, and they'll change the law and take the guns away. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. When the right of the people to live without being shot is put ahead of the right of Billy Bob to have a shotgun because he got bullied at school and he's scared, so he needs a shotgun so he doesn't feel scared, you know, or an assault rifle because he feels scared of bullies. You know, it'll happen. It will happen. And they'll take the guns. I mean, I hope it's soon. I hope we don't have to wait, you know, 100 years before America evolves to that point. But we shall see, won't we? Anyway, guys, there it was. More videos coming soon.